just don't know what to do, man. He's too powerful.
I'd love to help you, but I'm still recovering from D-Log.
Wasn't that a year ago?
You weren't there!
Whoa, okay. Chill. It's just, I don't think I can face it on my own.
Well, why not? You seem that much more cooler than you.
Who said I wasn't cool?
Look, if you can't face them on your own, maybe you need help from your friends.
Well, Fred is a virtual computer. He lives 100 miles away, and I guess you're still recovering from D-Log.
Maybe it's a friend you haven't thought of yet. Consider that.
A friend I haven't considered yet. He doesn't mean... What the hell? Hey, I said it'd be a series. Hello everyone, welcome back to my Super Checkpoint review. Previously, I played through the classic path in a video that no one watched, so naturally, this video is going to be about its successor, the Crazy Path. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this path so crazy? Does Magic 277 introduce a new, interesting mechanic that drastically changes the gameplay? Does he experiment with level design and branching, creating a more diverse and non-linear gameplay loop? Maybe he snorted some crack, and decided to publish whatever levels he made while he was high. Well, it turns out, no. He didn't do any of those perfectly normal and legal things. What makes the Crazy Path so crazy is the fact that it's slightly harder than Classic Path. Yep, that's it. Safe to say that I was not impressed by it. Its first 10 levels are literally borrowed from the classic paths, and it doesn't do anything to expand on Super Checkpoint's gameplay. Of course, it's still an enjoyable and moderately challenging path, but having played through the future paths, it just feels really underwhelming. Think about it like this. The classic path introduced the player to orbs, boss fights, multiple branching paths, gambling centers, crates, and heart coins, while the crazy path introduces the player to nothing. I mean, it does open some big, round, juicy balls, but still, there's no new content in the Crazy Path. The only thing that makes the Crazy Path interesting is its slightly riskier platforming. There are definitely some harder stages in this path, and the way that it splits into 2 routes by level 22 is certainly interesting, but none of these additions feel substantial enough to justify the Crazy Path's existence. This path feels like a DLC you would tag onto the classic path. It has no identity of its own. It shouldn't even be called the Crazy Path. It should be called like the Mild Path or something, because it's one of the blandest ways to remix the gameplay. The only reason I died on this path was because of Super Checkpoint's unforgiving RNG. They have a curse that makes an orb perpetually follow you, and let's just say that I wasn't a big fan of it. On my second run though, I managed to get 5 bonus health, so let's hope I don't fall... Hate this game. Really, the only thing that the Crazy Path does well is its boss fight. Alright, hyperbole off time. This boss fight's actually good. It's a huge step up from the first boss fight because this time the boss actually tries to stop you from killing them by using multiple abilities. The most notable of them is a flurry of white rockets, or whatever they are, towards your position. Not only are these rockets much faster than the previous boss's lava balls, but there are also more of them and they're harder to dodge. I've never been hit by them, but it definitely caught me off guard sometimes. Also, apparently she throws red jump orbs at you, but I've never noticed them during my fight. And really, they're not that much of a threat anyway. What's more noticeable though is her assault of death orbs, which at first scared me because they have the same icon as the evil follower orb, but luckily they don't follow you so they're much less of a nuisance. Also, she's constantly trying to cock block you, and I think that's an amazing feature. It gives the boss a much greater presence during the fight, and it actually feels like you're fighting someone instead of aimlessly running around the arena. And speaking of the arena, its design is great too. It's much more spread out and isolated than the first bosses, and this makes it easier to manage while keeping it engaging. Also, there's this thing. Yeah. Honestly, the Crazy Path is a solid 5 out of 10 in enjoyment, and it's being heavily carried by its boss fight, which is its only true innovation. I think the big issue I have with the Crazy Path is that it's a bad sequel to the classic path. It doesn't innovate or change the mechanics of the game. Rather, it just recycles what made the classic path interesting and doesn't do much to establish its own identity. And unfortunately, I find that extremely underwhelming as it doesn't live up to its name. While some might be more fine with more basic levels, I just feel like the Crazy Path fails to shine when compared to the other paths in the game. And sadly, that's all to say about the Crazy Path. It's just too uninteresting and incremental for me to say more about it. The first 2 paths could have easily merged into one colossal path, but nonetheless, there's nothing more to say about the Crazy Path. Okay, land path time. You know I said that this would be a 5-part series? Yeah. I didn't anticipate how uninspiring the crazy path would be, so now I'm condensing 2 paths into one video. Anyway, the land path is where the game really starts to pick up, at least after you get through the typical super checkpoint sludge that these paths are rife with. The land path really starts getting interesting around level 20, where it introduces its one unique mechanic: color. Yep, just like how the Civil Rights Act of 1964 introduced color to public bathrooms, this path's main gimmick is its introduction and management of colors. Basically, you can only freely move through bricks of your same color, and you have to constantly change your color to progress. Now, if you watched my last video, then you would know that I got the colorblind ailment during my first run, which is just fun. But the way that Magic experiments with and pushes the boundaries of this mechanic is just amazing. You begin with simple, essentially 2-dimensional stages that show you how the system works, literally laying each color in front of you like a charcuterie board. And then, after getting to know the basics, you start moving through transparent colored walls that require platforming efficacy to progress. I mean, just look how dense these stages are. It's like a stained glass window of how close tinted regions are to each other. This is possibly one of the best meldings of classic skills and new mechanics I've seen in a game. I was genuinely left in awe while traversing the later stages because of how complex and open they were. You constantly had to switch between red, blue, green, and purple just to find your way out of these maze-like stages, and I generally felt like a rat in a cage. Magic basically turned Super Checkpoint into a puzzle game, and it somehow works out. It's like he saw a rainbow and said, yeah, that's it! So this is where it all started, huh? He's the only one I can ask.
Hey, I'm up here. Thanks. What do you want?
Look, I know I've always seen eye to eye, and we've constantly bickered, and we're really that close.
Wait, why do you keep replaying the same clip of you killing me?
But I need you right now, man. Gilgamesh is too strong.
And what's the catch?
Come on, man. I know you don't want to work for him either. You saw how cruelly he treated me. We're the only ones who can stop him.
Alright. One condition though.
Yeah?
You gotta stop playing TC2.
I got chat banned. I dropped that game already.
Well, you got a deal.
And the land path's boss fight's one of the best in the game. Design-wise, it's simple. It's literally just a static platform that you run around. The physical design of the arena never changes. However, what makes this boss fight so challenging are the waves of colored blocks and orbs that you have to dodge. Oddly, the boss doesn't do much during the fight. Unlike the first 2 boss battles, this one kinda just stands there and watches you suffer. While the fight may seem easy on paper, this was one of the hardest boss fights in the game for me because of the simple concept known as physics. Wanna know what makes this fight so difficult? The orbs. They move. Maybe it's just me, but I've always had trouble accommodating for moving platforms, especially when the platform required to complete stages is so intricate and precise. The moving orbs in the classic path's boss fight were manageable because their paths were predictable, and you never really needed to use them. But here, I don't know, it was just hard for me. Dealing with moving platforms on top of having to manage my color is what led to many deaths during my playthroughs. Come on, I was right there! But I managed to persevere, and I eventually beat the land path's boss. After I cheated and bought extra health. Give me a break, okay? So, if I had to rate the land path, it'd be a solid 9 out of 10. It was one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had in this game, and its creativity is wonderful. It truly pushes the envelope of what a Roblox platformer can be, and it stands on its own as a path. Hell, I think it's good enough to be its own game. So thank you, Magic, for redeeming yourself with the land path. The next episode will be about the adventure path. Such pitiful insolence. Mongrels. When I need